Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tommy D. Duncan III, otherwise known as TD3. It is Wednesday night, July the 16th, 2025. And if it is Wednesday night, it is definitely Black Men Speak. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another show. As you notice, I do have on headphones this evening, and I am flying solo for right now. So we'll see if that changes. But all of that being said, we want to thank you for joining in for another exciting and informative show. If you have not done so already, do please make sure that you subscribe to the show. Make sure that you like this show if you like it. And of course, share this information with someone else within your network so they too can be the most informed person within their network. Now, I will have to apologize. There may be a little noise in the background. I'm at an airport today. Yes, I am flight. It has been a little while. And so I've got my earphones. Hopefully, it will drown out some of the noise for this evening. All that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the show. Have a couple of things I want to share with you in the technology space with companies that you may be familiar with. Meta, formerly Facebook, and CEO Mark Zuckerberg is plowing billions into the AI expansion of his company with the goal of developing a so-called super intelligence. Yes, people, super intelligence, or an AI that can surpass human capabilities. They will be spending hundreds of billions of dollars on massive AI data centers across the country, including one that will come online as soon as 2026, just next year. Zuckerberg is also throwing money on high-profile AI hires. In June, just last month, Meta invested 4.3 billion in Scale AI and hired its CEO, Alexander Wang. The company also hired former GitHub CEO Nat Friedman and Safe Super Intelligence CEO Daniel Gross, and poached Apple's head of AI foundation models, Wuming Peng. Meta's strategy is to capture the lead in the AI war after the company was forced to put its latest AI model on ice, seeking to bring its functionality up to par with the leader in the space, OpenAI and Google. Meta's strategy is to make its AI platform a king of personal super intelligence. And this is going to be very interesting. Please make sure that you pay close attention to this because there are two sides of this that we will talk about. Meta is also banking on smart glasses as the next major piece of consumer hardware after the smartphone. Now, you probably have seen these little glasses with a little thing at the end, but these have been promised for some years. Don't think they've really gotten there yet, but smart glasses may possibly be the next super cool gadget. The company is developing a self-contained smart glass that doesn't require a smartphone to power apps or other software. The move would allow Meta, in essence, to break free of Apple and Google's stranglehold using their app stores, giving it more control over products, a long-term goal of the social media giant. And this is, we'll see. There are tons of money, not millions, hundreds of millions, but billions of dollars being thrown into AI as the mega companies are fighting to gain a stronghold on the whole AI space that is evolving and growing out there. And Facebook by far has the most engagement of all of the social media companies out there. So they've definitely got the money to throw out there. We'll see what comes on after this in the next couple of years. But trust, people are putting their money on this, and it'll be very interesting to see how this works out. I want to, before we get started, give a shout out to cousin Audrey K out there, one of our loyal followers. Want to thank her for getting in on the chat lining and tuning into the show. Wanted to see what she thinks about AI. Everybody has used it in some way over the last several years. Also want to give a shout out to Uncle Asar, otherwise known as Asar Al-Kabilan. Want to thank him for joining us in the show tonight. So let us know what your thoughts are on AI, the future of AI. and how you think it's going to pan out. I mean, this is kind of one of the big issues with AI, especially for those who are not major investors in it. One of the things that, of course, you have seen and we have seen is that the outplacement of millions of jobs, that everything from voice recognition technology. So when you call into a customer support line for a company, you're usually going to hear an automated attendant. You have a lot of blue collar um, jobs, and for that matter, a fair amount of white collar jobs that are eventually being outplaced by artificial intelligence. And if you're not in this space, that's one thing, but to know about it, understand the impact that it's making, something that you definitely need to know about. So um, you look at Facebook, you have NVIDIA that we talked about a week or so ago, who generates the chips that drives the AI revolution, and many companies out there. For those of you who are investors, you know that this is the place where you're going to be making your money for several years to come. However, there is another side of AI as well, as we talk about Meta making its investments. Millions, if not billions of people have used ChatGPT, including myself, yours truly, one of the most widely used applications built as the super app for AI. However, there have also been emerging vulnerabilities as companies increasingly adopt generative AI. The tech behind ChatGPT and many other chatbots. Though the new AI security risks are known, many have no surefire way to address many of them, and they put us at risk. One of the biggest issues with AI is the massive amounts of data needed to train complex AI models so users can create text, code, images, video, data, analysis, and charts by writing questions or prompts in plain English and getting a response. So if you want to know everything from, what's the best way to get home from the airport or from downtown, or let's say if you want to find out a healthcare strategy given your current conditions, AI can do it for you. However, AI chatbots can leak sensitive information in a data breach. Proprietary company information is used for internal AI chatbots, including financial data, consumer information, product research, and legal files. Publicly available AI chatbots may pose more risk because now an outside party controls corporate proprietary data. Some hackers can trick the AI models to get in to leak sensitive data with clever phrasing and repeated questions called prompt injection attacks, even if there are guardrails in place. Therefore, sources of data, programming code, company secrets, etc., are put at risk. Meanwhile, hackers are weaponizing emerging AI tools for cyber attacks, such as creating malicious software or sophisticated email phishing operations. Criminals can often do this without very much technical know how. Most businesses are learning to emphasize tried and true best practices in corporate America, including patching software regularly, two-factor authentication. Basically, what that means is that you may put in your password, but you may also have them text or call you in terms of getting another layer of sophistication in terms of authenticating your identity, employee security training, and incident response plans. So, AI, as we know it, is here to stay, but you also have to understand that you have to protect yourself and your proprietary information, whether it's on your phone and or your laptop, to ensure your information is not leaked. Because, quite frankly, there have been people who have been scammed for their personal information, everything from their social security numbers, banking information. There, of course, have been people who have scammed out of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you have to be extremely careful with the evolution of technology. And this is no different than anything else out there. When you have business strategies that come out that make life simpler and easier for people, there's usually always going to be some risk associated with that. So, all that being said, you've got to be very careful and make sure that whether you're talking about at your corporate organization, whether you're an entrepreneur or just your personal information. Make sure that you keep your software patches up to speed and up to date to ensure that your information is safe. Because once your information is out there, it is extremely hard to safekeep it. Of course, you should also make sure that you change your passwords periodically. Most organizations recommend doing that at least 2 to 4 times a year, maybe once a quarter. So, with all that being said, just wanted to share that information with you as well. Now, going to news in the general gist of information. Don't know if you've seen this, but of course, over this last 6 months, there's been a lot of energy around deportations in the United States. Of course, the Trump administration has deported tens of thousands of undocumented workers in the country. That has been having various impacts on the business community, in addition to everyday people like you and me. But recently, the United States deported 5 violent criminals to the small African nation of Eswatini in an expansion of the Trump administration's third country deportation program. The U.S. has already deported 8 men to South Sudan after the Supreme Court lifted restrictions on sending people to countries where they have no ties. Homeland Security Assistant Secretary disclosed recently that the men were citizens of Vietnam, Jamaica, Cuba, Yemen, and Laos. She indicated they were all convicted criminals and individuals so uniquely barbaric that their home countries refused to take them back. Right. So let's say if they are from Cuba, Cuba doesn't want them back. So why don't we just send them to the African continent? We'll talk a little bit more about this. The men were convicted of crimes including murder and rape, with one a confirmed gang member. Eswatini, previously called Swaziland, is a country of about 1.2 million people between South Africa and Mozambique. It is one of the world's last remaining absolute monarchies and the last on the African continent itself. King Mswati III is ruled by decree since 1986. Political parties are effectively banned, and pro-democracy groups have said for years that Mswati III has crushed all political dissent, sometimes violently. The Trump administration has said it is seeking more deals with African nations to take deportees from the U.S. Leaders from some of the 5 West African nations who met with Trump recently at the White House said that the issue of immigration and countries possibly taking deportees from the U.S. was discussed. Some nations, however, have pushed back. Nigeria, for instance, which wasn't part of that White House summit, said it has rejected pressure from the United States to take deportees who were citizens of other countries. The U.S. has also sent hundreds of Venezuelans to other countries such as Costa Rica, El Salvador, Panama, and others, but identified Africa as a continent where it might find more governments willing to strike deportation agreements. And I find this interesting because, of course, this is the same president that during his prior administration, I think we call him 45, now 47, that called many of these countries shitholes. But the reality of it is, with the United States being the largest economy in the world right now, everybody, of course, wants to do business with the largest consumer economy on the globe, at least at the current point. Of course, in Africa is no different than that. But the challenge is, should they or why should they be taking on the worst criminals that we have in this country for some concessions, whether that be trade concessions, whether that be money slid up under the door, whatever that happens to be. But this is going to be an interesting This is going to be an interesting story going forward. I've got got something here from Uncle Assar. Says they're not deporting people; they're human trafficking people all over the globe, which brings up a very good point when we talk about human trafficking. Many of us, when we think of human trafficking, of course, we think about sex trafficking, which we've had some conversations about on some of our prior shows. Of course, we've talked about labor trafficking, where you send people to different parts of the world. In the United States is definitely been a part of this, because at the end of the day, it's about cheap labor. After they had free labor of the enslaved Africans for close to 300 years. And so, as a result of that, trafficking obviously is a part of this. But, as part of the campaign promise of Trump recently, he said he's getting all of the criminal elements out of here. And this is a part of that whole strategy. There's a guy by the name of, is it Byron Donaldson, who said promise made, promise kept. We'll see what happens. My question is to all the heads of state on the African continent: is it worth it? Are you prepared to take the rapists, the criminals, the murderers, and bring them into your country, and of course expose you to irreparable harm? Yeah, the money may be good, but what's the impact that's going to have long term? Most of our African countries, with a few exceptions, are codependent on either Europe or America for its security detail, in a lot of cases for trade relations, in order for it to sell its products and services to. And at the same time, of course, we know that all money may not be good money, but at the end of the day, there's no one who can disagree that you don't want the worst of criminals in your backyard. The question is it worth it to get a few dollars to bring them to yours? So, with that being said, would love to hear what you have to say about the deportation strategy that Trump currently has in terms of sending these criminals back to their respective homes, and if not, to the African continent. Okay, I'm not gonna bring that one up. That was a funny. I'm gonna have to give Uncle Sar a good one on that. With that being said, folks, those are a couple of our stories that we wanted to share with you today. We did have, if you guys did not notice, and especially if you are subscribing to Black Men Speak, one of the things that we were going to launch this week is that we were going to have a movie review. So what we were able to do is get the rights to share certain movies with our viewers so they can check out some movies, and some of them have been out there for a while. But I'm one of those people. I don't really watch a lot of movies because, unfortunately, most of them just aren't worth anything to me. So what you will see are some movies that we'll be reviewing periodically. So if you want access to these movies, but yes, some of them, they do have commercials, make sure that you subscribe to Black Men Speak, and you can check out these movies. And what we'll do is we'll do a movie review on these movies every so many shows, so to speak. Looks like we have Miss Tanya just jumped on the line. I want to thank her for jumping on the chat line as well. For those of you who may not have seen it, Drumline, a new beat, was just added to our subscription list. So if you have not seen that, quite frankly, I didn't, or maybe I forgot that a Drumline had came out with a second movie. But Drumline, a new beat, was just added to our portfolio of movies. There are a couple of other movies that you'll want to check out as well. So if you want to see something entertaining, go check it out, and then we'll talk about it. Want to see what your thoughts are. I don't know if anybody out there has seen Drumline, a new beat. Of course, the original one, one of my, I won't say all-time favorite movies, but a pretty good movie nonetheless. You had Nick Cannon, who was playing the role. I won't call him the role, but kind of the guy who marched to the beat of his drum, and no pun intended. Was at odds with Sean Taylor, who was played by Leonard Roberts. And of course, he was trying to get the drum line, but he was kind of one of those, I'm in it for myself type of dudes. And of course, one of my favorite actors, Orlando Jones, was the band director. Well, this movie that was released a little bit over 10 years ago was a follow-up to that. And a couple of folks who came back from the original movie. Leonard Roberts is now the band director, and he is having to take over a a band that isn't there, hadn't done that, and they kind of getting mopped up with a lot of the other HBCU bands, and so he goes in and tries to see if he can um, pull it back together and get them to their past glory. Mario Van Peebles is also in this movie, and Nick Cannon also makes a cameo appearance as well, who has done well, and he comes back to help the band to get them motivated and inspired. So with that being said, what I may do, I was originally scheduled to do a conversation about this movie, and I think overall it was a pretty cute movie, entertaining. From my point of view, it was a little bit predictable. I could pretty much tell what was going to happen at the beginning of the movie. But if it's something that you want to just kind of kick back and enjoy, if you haven't seen it before, definitely worth checking out. And something that you probably have a lot of fun watching. So, with that being said, I will skip on the review for this show since I don't have my cohort to disagree with on certain parts of the movie. But with that being said, folks, we are going to, in light of the absence of my co-host JR, and of course me being in an airport, we're going to keep this show a little bit shorter. But what I will say is coming up in the next week or so, we are going to have our special host, well, special guest and CPA, John Williams, to come talk to us about what is happening and what has been built into this new spending bill that was just passed over the last week. It's something that everybody needs to know about. And so we will have our good friend and accounting expert, CPA, John Williams, visit with us over the next couple of weeks to break down and unpack what happened in the spending bill and how it affects you, how it affects your family, how it might potentially affect the economy. So make sure that you join us next week and the week after that for our upcoming shows. So with that being said, folks, what I'm going to do is see if anybody has any thoughts. We want to thank everybody for joining us this week. We're going to keep this week's show relatively short, and we will be back next week on next Wednesday because, of course, if it is Wednesday night, it is Black Men Speak. We want to thank everyone and have a fantastic week and weekend.